All right, we apologize for the little bit of delayed start. Calling to order the regular session of our Tuesday, May 23rd board meeting. We will now do a roll call.
Student Trustee Garcia Bustamante.
Here.
Student Trustee Dana.
Here.
Trustee Rosenbaum.
Here.
Trustee Kahn.
Here.
Trustee Hopwood.
Here.
Vice President Boyd.
Here.
President Davidson.
Here.
Superintendent Wells.
Here.
Okay, we will now do the reading of the AUSD mission and vision statement and meeting norms.
The mission of Albany Unified School District is to provide excellent public education that empowers all to achieve their fullest potential as productive citizens. AUSD is committed to creating comprehensive learning opportunities in a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, addressing the individual needs of each student.
Meeting norms. Maintain a focus on what is best for our students. Ensure a safe environment for all views to be expressed, treating each other, staff, and the public respectfully. Endeavor to find common solutions to issues through collaboration without sacrificing one's beliefs in what is best for students. Make a commitment to effective deliberation, each one listening with an open mind, while others are allowed to express their own points of view, even if one disagrees.
All right, thank you so much. We will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you would, or join in if you would like. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There was no action taken in our closed session today. We will now take a motion on the approval of our agenda. However, I am going to ask that we please consider an amendment to our agenda. We have an item under our review and action this evening, the utilization proposal for 1200 Solano, which has shifted gears a little bit, and I feel we either need to change it to a staff report or table it to another meeting or remove it altogether for right now. It no longer falls under the superintendent's goals because it no longer relates to our district office move. It is now a classroom assignment only, and that is not under the board's roles and responsibilities to vote on assigning classrooms. That is under site administrators and the superintendent. So that is my suggestion, but I will entertain a motion on the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as is.
Okay, we're going to take a roll call vote on this.
Student Trustee Garcia Bustamante.
Yes.
Student Trustee Dana.
Yes.
Trustee Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Trustee Kahn.
Yes.
Trustee Hopwood.
So I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's all a bit speedy. Microphone on. So what we're doing is the motion has been made to approve it as is, not with that item pulled.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
And if you vote no and it doesn't, if we vote no in a majority, then we can make a second motion if you would like it, if anyone would like it to be different.
Okay. So no.
The motion.
Sorry, the motion was to approve it as is.
As it
yes,
is.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Vice President Boyd.
No.
President Davidson.
No. Okay, so the motion does not pass. There were 2 in favor, Trustee Rosenbaum and Trustee Kahn, and 3 opposed, Trustee Hopwood, Vice President Boyd, and President Davidson. The student board member votes are advisory. And so we will now entertain a motion if anyone would like to make an amendment to the agenda tonight. Yeah, take your time.
Okay, so you talked about taking it off the agenda. Now, this is something that we have had to, over a number of weeks now, discuss. This was in the board's purview. Now we're being told it's not. So I have a problem with either approving having this on the agenda now or taking it off completely. I feel like this warrants further discussion. So I'm not really sure how to approach that.
If we keep it as a staff report, we can have a robust discussion around it and make recommendations. We just will not be making a final vote about the move, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. So I guess because this is just, review and action, I
Right.
don't feel that we should be burying it completely, but I don't think we
Great.
should be taking action on it at this point for the reasons we've discussed. So I'd like some alternative.
So we could, I'll give Trustee Dana and then Vice President Boyd. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as a point of clarification, we're changing the classification of this item.
Exactly. We
Okay.
can do that. So if someone wants to just make a motion that's, I move to approve the agenda with item, 12. Oh, I'm totally on all the wrong screens.
12A.
So
12A, that's what I thought.
As a review and discussion.
As a staff report, because review and
We've done
discussion,
that to death already, so.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, then I so move. Yeah.
Did you want to add anything, Vice President Boyd? It's okay.
Sorry, I just was going to move to make it a staff report, but to change the order so that it comes a bit earlier in the meeting.
Madam Chair, can I give some context to this so that we can all have I think, clear understanding? The obvious question is, why did the district office move from Berkeley, come to Albany in the first place? And it's because of one of our goals. Goals 5.3 requires that the superintendent bring a proposal to the board for the Berkeley, moving the district office from Berkeley to Albany. And so the board voted last meeting to do that. And so that piece within the board's purview is now over. And so 1200 Solano now is about a placement. And that's the purview of either the principal or designee or superintendent. And so that's why it's a little different. I hope that helps.
And I think the issue is that we understand that, and I agree with that in principle, but the problem is that this was something that the board was involved in, and it seems that the goalposts have moved a little.
We're going to, if it's okay,
So
we
I
have to hold all the comments until the agenda item.
Of course, and so I'm just saying, so for that reason, that's why I think it's not a question of not understanding. I think it's really just, it's a lot to sort of suddenly pivot on. So I like Trustee Boyd's proposal, and also about bringing it up the agenda. I think it makes sense. So go for that.
Well, you have to amend her motion. So if you can make a friendly amendment.
So you're amending. Oh, okay.
I'm amending, right, because you started?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to, in a very friendly manner, amend Trustee Dana's motion so that the agenda item, which I don't have the number of.
12A.
12A, is made into a staff report and is also the first staff report on the agenda.
Okay, we will now take a roll call. Oh, we need a second, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, and then we need to take a roll call vote, please.
Student Trustee Garcia Bustamante,
Yes.
Student Trustee Dana,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenbaum has stepped out. Should I come back to him?
He's departed.
Okay. Trustee Khan,
No.
Trustee Hopwood,
Yes.
Vice President Boyd,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to move on. We are going to, take our public comment for matters not on the agenda. If you are here in person, please approach the podium, and you can line up along that wall. If you do make a comment and you have not yet filled out one of our speaker cards, please make sure that Julie gets one even after you speak. And if you are in our virtual audience, please feel free to raise your hand, and I promise I will not forget anyone this time. And you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Aaron Parsons. I'm a professor of astronomy at UC Berkeley. I'm also a father of 3 in this district. And for 5 years, I organized and ran Family Math Night at Marin Elementary. I wanted to bring to the board's attention that math placement at AUSD is not compliant with the California Math Placement Act of 2015, which requires that we take multiple holistic measures into consideration, that we provide placement reevaluation in the first month of 9th grade. We ensure that students are not held back on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background, and that we provide clear and timely recourse for questions about math placement. My family has become familiar with AUSD's math placement noncompliance with our experience with our 9th grader who tested into the highest bracket in his state math exam, received an A- in his 8th grade math class, but narrowly missed placing into honors math 1-2, basically on the basis of a missing homework assignment. Our requests for reconsideration were ignored at both the AAMS and AHS levels, but there was no uniformity in the imposition of these cutoffs classroom to classroom. There was no 9th grade reassessment that was conducted despite our requests. And after being told that our child could not test into honors math 2, could test into honors math 2-3, we have found that this mechanism is actually a joke. The kids in math 1 who want to move into math 1-2 on the honors track are being asked to learn math 2 with essentially no in-classroom support. There's no instruction, no supervision, no grading, no feedback that the math 1-2 students receive. My son will be fine because he has an astrophysicist at home to teach him, but most students are not so privileged, and many families are unable to afford the $8,000 required for private tutoring to cover this material. Our AUSD current policy invites lawsuits that, such as one that was successfully brought against the Palo Alto School District, but most importantly, the district is failing our students. And they're employing a weed-out strategy to divert students from their interest in math, and we are providing only a path that the privileged can get back to the honors level. So we need to overcome a culture of avoiding engagement.
Thank you so much for your comment. And I just want to let you know that we have received, I think, your emails as well. Okay.
Madam Chair, it's just, we're in receipt of the concern, and we had Ed Services looking into it. One of the most interesting pieces there is the policies that we worked on with other districts. We often have an opt-in where if a parent wants their kid to be in advanced math courses, we usually use that practice. So we're revisiting our and examining our policy to see can we align it with some of the current practices that are accepted. But we do thank you for the email. I appreciate it.
And also, we have math presentation on the agenda in a little bit, which gives us more ability to discuss, so please stay for that. Next public comment, please.
Hi, my name is Forrest. I'm a parent of an Albany student. I know there's been a lot of talk about moving the district office here, and I think that kind of got mixed up in the a bunch of other things that were going on. And so I don't want to go back into that, but one of the things that was going on that people were talking about and that kind of got wrapped up into a very interesting discussion was the after-school availability at Cornell Elementary. I have a lot of opinions, and I love this district, and I want to say that it seems like Cornell Elementary has gotten the short end of the stick in many different ways, having the oldest facilities, having the fewest square feet per student, having the fewest spots in for after school next year, unless I'm mistaken. And I'm hoping that the board, the people of this district can find a way to improve that situation. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you'll stay for the Cornell facilities update as well. Okay, seeing no further public comment, we will now move on to our spotlight, which is our spotlight on Albany High School solar energy analysis.
Yeah, right here.
know when I go.
Good. Okay, so we're from Albany High School, as you already know, and we're talking about solar and why our school should do it. So our goal is to move towards more renewable energy and save money at the same time. All right, yeah. Next slide. Do I tell you or do I click here? Okay. Okay, so like this is kind of like the most important calculation. The sun provides about like 1 kilowatt per square meter, but it's only like 15% efficient. So that means we get 0.15 per meter squared. So everything else is based off that calculation.
Okay, so I guess the main question is exactly how much power could we generate? We used Google Earth to figure this out, and we calculated that we could use around 3,500 square meters of usable space. And then from there, we had to do the actual math. We multiplied the solar panel's power, which is 0.15 kilowatts per square meter, by the number of usable space, 3,500 square meters. From there, that's how we got our number, which is 525 kilowatts of electrical power that is usable to us. Next slide, please. Given this information, at this rate, how much energy can we produce every single month? Assuming we receive roughly 8 hours of sunlight a day, this would mean 4 hours of full sunlight and 8 hours of partial sunlight. We would multiply our number of 525 kilowatts of power per hour by 8 hours a day and 30 days a month, which would result in 126,000 kilowatts hours per month of energy generated by our own solar panels.
Okay, so we know that it's not sunny every day here in the Bay Area, so we wanted to take that into our calculation so that we could predict how much energy we could get every year, even when it's not sunny. So we assumed that it is sunny 260 days out of our year, which is about 70% of the year. So we scaled our estimate by 70% to find a more realistic value of energy that the solar panels could produce each month. By converting months to hours and then factoring in weather and the conditions of the weather, we calculated that our high school uses on average around 90,000 kilowatt hours of electrical energy each month. Can I get the next slide, please? Yeah, and this is our PG&E bill from February of 2023, and it shows just about how much we use. We use about 100,000 kilowatt hours of electricity each month, which costs us a total of $28,000 a month.
So how much of the school's energy could solar actually provide? As Royal said, our school uses 100,000 kilowatt hours of energy per month, and solar could provide 90,000 of kilowatt hours every month, which means that solar could provide 90% of our school's energy needs. And how much would this cost? We assume that the cost for solar panels is $4 per watt. And if we install solar panels on the entire usable roof of Albany High, the power output will be 525 kilowatts. So the upfront cost for installing 525 kilowatts worth of solar will be $2.1 million.
How much could we save and how long would it take to pay off initial costs? So the thing about installing solar panels on the roof of our school is that not only would it generate energy for us, but it would also benefit us financially. Assuming energy costs $28,000 per month, that means it costs around $336,000 per year. Since we'd save 90% of that, we'd be saving around $300,000 per year. If solar panel installation costs around $2.1 million, we can divide $2.1 million by $300,000, and we would take about 7 years to pay it off. And that's not including the extra income we would make by selling the energy we generate back to the grid. Next slide. So how much money would we save over the entire lifespan lifespan of the solar panels. Solar panels typically last at least 25 years, sometimes even up to 50 years. Installing solar panels would provide sustainable energy while saving significant amounts of money. Once we pay off the initial investment, we could effectively be getting 90% of our energy for free. While it would take around 7 years to break even, if we save $300,000 every year after, we would effectively save somewhere between $5 to $13 million if we used it over the entire 25 to 50 year duration.
In addition to the calculations of the solar panels that we would generate, we also learned that we are able to resell any excess energy that we generate back to PG&E at a wholesale price. This can help us with any budget problems we may have in the future, and also help us pay back for the cost of installation. This means that we can cover more than just our school's needs on a given day. Assuming that the conditions are right and we have enough sun, our solar panels can provide up to 525 kilowatts. According to our school's PG&E bill, the max power demand was only 360 kilowatts. That gives us at least an extra 165 kilowatts of excess power that we could sell back to the grid. Assuming that we earn about $5 each sunny day, we could have about a little over $1,000 every year, which we could put back into the budget or just paying back for installation. Next slide, please. Depending on our budget, the most we have to spend up front is $2.1 million on installation, but we could be able to pay it off in as little as 7 years, or maybe less. While this initial investment may be costly, it would save us a lot of money in the long run. Another option would be to install less solar panels to save on installation costs, but this would generate less energy each month, but we would still get a good amount. Solar energy is a renewable and sustainable source of energy that does not produce harmful pollutants, making it an environmentally friendly alternative to fossil fuels and things like natural gas, which is a large part of our pollution. So installing solar panels would help combat climate change. By harnessing the power of the sun, we can reduce our dependence on non-renewable energy sources and mitigate the negative effects of climate change.
So we recommend considering installing solar panels on the high school roof. Natural gas, which is currently the largest source of electrical energy in California, is a fossil fuel. So switching to solar would reduce our carbon footprint by a lot. And we believe this project will not only make us a more sustainable school because we'll be powered by renewable energy, but it would also be more cost efficient, enabling us to allocate money and resources into alternative areas. We recommend the installation of solar panels as quickly as possible. The more time we put this off, the less money we save on energy. In addition to covering an average of 90% of the electricity bill, which would save us around $25,000 a month, we could also sell back any extra electricity that we don't use on sunny days. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to us today, and we hope this gave you a better understanding of how solar panels would look at Albany High School and what their benefits would be. As students at Albany High School, we care about the decisions our school is making, and we believe that installing solar panels would be a good one. Thank you again for listening to our presentation. I hope you have a good evening.
Madam Chair, I just have to say that we are convinced that we have to start a solar panel initiative in our district because of the presentation. Sooner than later, your work is one that's going to benefit us, and we found it very impressive. And no one likes to lose money, and so we all like to earn money. So we appreciate the time and the research and the way you guys presented this research to benefit not only the district, but the entire community. So we want to take the time out and say thank you for doing great work for our community.
just want to say thank you. That was fantastic. And also I see Miss Risk there, who's the physics teacher. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you as well. Thank you. And well done. That was brilliant.
Sorry, I think this was time to ask questions as well. I forgot to mention. So if anyone has questions, this is now.
Well, your presentation was very, very thorough.
Could you guys introduce yourselves? It'd be great to hear your first and last names.
Hi, my name is Miahu. I'm a senior, and yeah.
Okay, well, also, sorry, can you tell us where you're going to college or what your plans are really quickly so we can get to know you a tiny bit better?
I'm wearing a Berkeley sweatshirt, but I'm going to USC for art. Yeah.
My name's Asen Momin. I'm a senior, and I'm going to go to the Coast Guard Academy.
Hi, my name is Kira Frey. I'm going to Scripps College. I'm on the pre-med track, so I'll be doing molecular biology.
Hi, my name's Royal Banks Kong. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go to college yet, but I'm moving abroad to the UK, so I'm going to study computer science in the United Kingdom.
Hi, my name's Laura Nakora. I'm a junior, and I'm going to finish high school in Switzerland next year.
Hi, my name is Harsha Ramesh. I'm a junior, and I haven't applied to college yet, so.
Hi, my name is Thomas Tran, and I'm going to be attending UC Merced for computer science next year.
Thank you all. Oh, Trustee Dana.
It's so good to see all of you. I had one question. I love this whole presentation. It was super clear, super informative. I'd love to see other district sites other than the high school. I think that would be really cool to have an analysis on those as well.
This was pretty convincing, though, that we should definitely do that and move in this direction, because I'm really impressed by all of the facts and information that you presented here, and you broke it down in a way that is so clear that, I mean, I feel like I just understood the whole thing and thought, okay, that was brilliant and just what we should be doing, and let's go. So really appreciate it, and really appreciate all of you and your time. And I couldn't help but think, now this is how you teach physics and math and everything all woven together with a practical application. Oh my. So I'm really, really impressed by what's going on in our high school and with this program. Thank you. Okay, we are going to head down the recognition and train tonight because we have quite a few recognitions to move through this evening. Our first recognition is a resolution to recognize Classified Employees Appreciation Week.
And the recognition of our classified employee appreciations, along with recognition of retiring employees, and then eventually, well, I'm going to stop there, will be by our Chief Human Resource Officer, Marina Gonzalez. And if you could just wait about 7 seconds or so.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. The first recognition is for the week of Classified Employees Appreciation Week. So who are our classified employees? Well, these are our clerical folks, our food service folks, our paraeducators, district office support staff, have to give them a shout out. And these are the folks that support the rest of the district to, operate. Oh, also our maintenance and custodial, I don't want to forget them. And so annually on this week, the third week in May, I think it is, we celebrate our classified employees.
All right, so we will now take a motion to approve the recognition of Classified Employee Appreciation Week?
I move that we approve resolution number 2022-23-35, proclaiming Classified Employees Appreciation Week.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Okay, we will now move on to recognition 8B, our recognition of retiring employees, although maybe we just shouldn't do it and, keep some.
I tried to deny the retirement, but they apparently
snuck it
have
in.
no authority.
Okay.
So this year, we have 3 certificated folks that are retiring and 3 classified. And I'm just going to read their names. I'm going to tell you the year that they started because this is how long they've dedicated themselves to this district. So starting with Mr. Tyrone Rose, who is a PE teacher at AMS. Okay. Mr. Rose started with the district in 1997, so he's been with us for 25 years. And then we have Mr. Ray Peterson, a librarian over at Ocean View. Since 2003, he's been with us, 20 years. Jenny Anderson, 6th grade teacher at AMS since 2000, and I think that's 18 years with the district. Longer, so maybe my start date is, 21 years with the district that she's dedicated. And then our classified folks, Carmelina Marmo, since 1997, 24 years. Nigat Vahidi, since 2005, 18 years with the district. And Bess Williams, since 2006, 17 years. And all 3 of those folks have worked with our students with special needs as paraeducators. And so I'm just going to read a quick statement to our retirees that we want to thank you for your service to AUSD and most of all to society. There's no greater contribution that one can make than inspiring the minds and hearts of the next generation. The positive impact that you have made in the lives of students and colleagues is the legacy that you leave behind. As you look forward to the next phase of your life, may that journey be as fulfilling and as inspiring as you have been for all that you have served.
I didn't want to be too remiss. We have a teacher at heart with us here who started her teaching here a long time ago. And she will be retiring this year as the principal of Cornell Elementary School, and that is Liz Vermeller. You don't just get to stand. Since you're here, you got to come and say something.
Love this district. Oh, thanks. Love Albany so much, and I've been reminiscing about my first moments at Marin. I remember driving up and being in room 16 with Marlene Carrot, where I student taught in 1994, and it just been thinking a lot about getting back to that corner. Actually, want to get back into that spot. That room is still there. It's not torn down. And it has been a joy to serve this district as a 3rd grade teacher, 4th grade teacher, TSA, assistant principal at the high school, assistant principal at Ocean View, and the great honor of being the principal of Cornell. And seeing those kids, the reason I wanted to ask you to hear their names is because I taught some of them, and I always see the kids here, and that's the very, very, very best part. If you can imagine how proud you feel watching your students do something like that is amazing. So thanks, everyone, and for everything. Appreciate it.
And that concludes our recognition for retiring employees.
All right. We will now have our, no, we do not need action on that one. We're just recognizing and super appreciating, because Liz, you've gone above and beyond at Cornell, and it's been noticed and appreciated, so thank you. We will now move on to Resolution 2022-23-36, proclaiming June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. And I believe we're handing this over to Trustee Hopwood.
And it says 5 minutes. I will read quickly because it's quite long. And I didn't write the original version of this, so thank you to whoever did. I've just revised it. The purpose of this item is for the Board of Education to adopt resolution number 2022-23-36, proclaiming June LGBTQIA+, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex and asexual agender, plus Pride Month. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've got the actual resolution as well. So LGBTQIA+ rights are human rights. The story of America's LGBTQIA+ community is the story of our parents and children, our friends and neighbors, and ourselves. It is a story about the struggle for dignity and fairness for all people. And it is the story of resilience in the face of that struggle and of recognizing the beauty of the LGBTQIA+ community. Each June, we celebrate and commemorate the courageous individuals who have fought for equality for LGBTQIA+ people. On June the 28th, 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in New York City, which sparked the fire that fueled the first wave of the gay pride movement. That night, brave people, led by Black and Latinx transgender women, said enough is enough. Stonewall became a symbol of resistance against social and political discrimination that would inspire solidarity among LGBTQIA+ groups for decades. However, it took almost half a century before the Supreme Court ruled on June 26, 2015, that same-sex couples have a constitutional right to marry. The struggle continues today, with many LGBTQIA+ people in the United States experiencing disparities in employment, education, and housing. In addition, LGBTQIA+ people, particularly transgender individuals, face a greater risk of becoming victims of violent hate crimes. LGBTQIA+ youth are being targeted by divisive policies in various states across the nation. Transgender youth, in particular, are the subject of many proposed and recently enacted bills to restrict their access to healthcare or prevent them from playing on sports teams that align with their gender identity. While California law addresses the discrimination, harassment, intimidation, and bullying of LGBTQIA+ youth, the 2017 to 2019 California School Climate, Health, and Learning Surveys found that middle and high school students in Alameda County who identified as transgender or gay, lesbian, bisexual were twice as likely to have been harassed or bullied in the past year than their cisgender or straight peers. The fight for dignity and equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex, and agender asexual plus people is reflected in the tireless dedication of advocates and allies who strive to forge a more inclusive society. They have demanded equal treatment under our laws, from our courts, and in our politics. This month, we reflect on all that they have done and pledge to create and maintain a positive environment for our LGBTQIA+ students and community members. The Albany Unified School District Board of Trustees hopes that this recognition series will spur meaningful actions throughout the district for a better present day and keep AUSD on course for a more equitable future. Now, do we read the resolution as well, or should we just, okay.
It's in the agenda packet, and so we give people the opportunity to read through it ahead of time or after through that, and then we can just, we can take questions, comments, or generally we just take a motion on these.
And I think also just this is such a poignant time to be reflecting on this and to be promoting it. In the last few days, the number of states that have enacted these anti-trans laws is just picking up a pace. And so I'm proud to be in a district that thinks this is important.
I just got to say, I appreciate being reminded of the struggle and the courage it took to get to a place of being respected and treated with great humanity for all folks. And so although it may be a movement for one group of people, all groups of people benefit from such courageous acts. And so in order to know where we're going, we have to know where we've been and the sacrifice that we have taken. And they have taken a great sacrifice for all mankind. And so it's good to have a moment to pause and reflect and appreciate. And I appreciate the way you articulated that piece because it resonated with me. So thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say that Ichtaka Lira last year was a student board member, and they were transgender. And I think it's so important for us to recognize that this is still a fight like within our school district, and he is valid as a person, and that there are students within our district that are impacted by this every day, and if not now, more than ever. So, yeah.
Debated whether this was the right time to say this or not, but I think for me, I know that our district, is definitely a welcoming space for all, but unfortunately, our California legislature does have, legislation right now, specifically AB 1314, which is looking to basically just, force teachers to out their students to their parents. And so I love that we are adopting a resolution, but I also wonder if we can take it a step further and, push or make our stance known to the legislature that we do not appreciate, our legislators who are trying to, forcibly out our students or make schools unsafe for our students as well. So I would love to, for us to consider whether it's a letter or something in opposition of bills like that target our students. So, yeah.
Just for the record, I will follow up with AXA and some of the other organizations who are advocating against this to probably put together a letter, at least from our district on my behalf, about our position of humanity.
That would be helpful because I don't know the proper process for something like state level, lobbying or anything like that and being a school district. So, yeah.
And if the board members can sign on, maybe we can join you on.
You may not know this. This is a wonderful time to make an announcement that we have a new president of our local region of AXA, the Association of California School Administrator, and that's Deb Brill. For those who don't know her, if you could stand and wave, Deb. So she will be helping to lead this kind of work.
We appreciate you, Deb.
Make a motion. You want to make a motion?
Sorry, forgot. I moved to adopt Resolution 2022-23-26, proclaiming June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month.
36. Yep. Second, you can do a second with a friendly amendment.
I thought I said 36.
It's okay.
Okay. I'll leave it to you.
So I'll second to approve Resolution 2022-23-36, proclaiming June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, seeing no opposition, the recognition passes unanimously. And now we get to recognize some very important people.
And so we have some instructions that everyone needs to listen very carefully. We're going to do this as a governance team, and we all are going to meet over here at the podium. You're going to give us a moment, because as you guys get ready to line up at the podium, we're going to go get some goodies and bring them out to recognize you. So here we go.
Oh my gosh, no.
Oh, okay, we're here. You know, to take on the responsibilities as such a youngster in our youth leadership, in addition to all of your studies and other commitments to your family, it's just amazing the kind of work you've done this year. And we wanted to pause and just acknowledge that kind of work and the kind of difference you're making at your high school. We want to start off with Yaneli Garcia Bustamante as our school board student trustee because she's only a junior and she's not going anywhere. We get to have her next year. But we do want to take time out to give a token of our appreciation for the work she's doing and the mentorship she's going to provide for the replacement of Allison. And so I'm going to take a moment and show you a wonderful plaque that, not a plaque, but certificate that she's going to receive, and it reads as follows. Certificate of Recognition awarded to Yaneli Garcia Bustamante in honor of your time and dedication to the Albany Unified School District. Board of Education, as a student board member, we extend to you our warmest regards and sincere appreciation. Awarded this day, May 23rd, 2023, signed by your own board president, Trustee President Veronica Davidson. And you get to say a word or two.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Thank you so much. It means a lot to be recognized for something that I love doing and I'm passionate about and I feel is really important. And I can't wait to do this all over again next year. And I'm glad I get to have you guys next year too. And there's so much that I want to do next year with such little time, but just thank you very much.
There's a little piece I want to share about Yaneli. Back in December, I was in San Diego studying and learning about how to get better with this work in education. And they had a unique group of students who were from prestigious area who can do this and that. And I look up when I was eating and I see Yaneli and her family coming, and she was right there studying and getting herself prepared so that she can be the best board student trustee she can be, and she just has been fabulous. And so when I say giving up her time, making commitment, and then balancing the study, that's just applaudable. So again, thank you, Trustee Yaneli. Next, we have Allison Dana, our school board trustee. Allison is completing her second year on the board, and she too has a certificate of recognition. And I'm gonna do the certificate of recognition, but the big award that goes to her, I'm gonna ask President Veronica Davidson to do that. So I'm gonna do the certificate. Certificate of recognition awarded to Allison Dana in honor of your time and dedication to the Albany Unified School District. Board of Education, as a student board member, we extend to you our warmest regards and sincere appreciation awarded May 23rd, 2023, signed by our board president, Veronica Davidson.
And you.
And then the second part, you don't say that.
You're going to get a second part. You are. Allison, you are, it's kind of weird to like talk behind me like that. You are an impressive student and you're going to just keep impressing people, I am sure. And it has been such a pleasure to serve with you on this board. You have been professional, responsible, calm, poised, just so impressive. And we're going to miss you. Glad you're not going far. And we hope that you'll kind of come back and just keep tabs on what's going on in Albany Unified and then inform us about what you're doing. And so with that, we'd like to present you with this. Maybe you put it up in your dorm room or somewhere. I'm going to keep it in the box because you can see it better. But it says, Leadership Award, Allison Dana, Student Board Member, Albany Unified School District, in recognition of your dedicated service and leadership 2021 to 2023. So thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. And you go for saying some things.
We're not done.
No, we're not done at all.
We're not done. Trustee Khan, if you can come on down.
Oh, but it's all of us.
The rest of the board.
So from one golden bear to another, officially, welcome to the KALB family.
Twinning with Sadia. This is a card from everybody. Thank you.
You so much.
Flowers from everybody.
We're so excited to see everything that you're gonna do at Cal, and go Bears.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, why me? Thank you for everything that you've done for our students, our families, our teachers. You are going to be greatly missed.
Oh my
But we know
gosh.
you're going to do wonderful things. So.
I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
No, I can't cry yet. Oh, no. I'm reminded of my first board meeting when I came on and Audrey and Leah were had this whole ceremony. And Audrey said, "What am I going to do with my Tuesdays now?" And now I know what she means, which is I don't know what I'm going to do with my Tuesdays now, my Tuesday evenings, because they've been here for 2 years now. And so just reflecting on that and being able to be with you guys here in person is insane to me, especially having started on Zoom. And so we've been through a lot, and I'm looking at you too. Yeah, thank you so much for this. I feel so loved, and wow, thank you. Thank you for the effort, and I love you guys. And
And while she's getting resettled and wiping away her tears, please help yourself to cupcakes back there so we can all toast them to our outgoing student board member and maybe our retirees who are present. And then we'll return to the meeting in like 30 seconds.
Twins. Twins.
We have an extra chair if he wants to join in. Oh my gosh. No?
Please, everyone, eat some cupcakes.
Nadia. I am going to be exploiting the resources.
We were just talking about, because I did the birthday change maker course, and there's actually banners of my face on campus.
Oh my gosh.
Because of other stuff.
They're like diversity.
That too. But so, on your way from Southern Gates to Moffett/Joe, apparently there's a banner with my face. I didn't know where it was. We were trying to go look for
No
them.
way.
But yeah.
Like Joe Library?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I got a tour yesterday. All the names are blending together. It's really. Is Moffett?
Joe and Moffett are like literally right
Yeah,
next
they're like across from each other.
Blade. It's like the open.
Yeah.
But they're right next to each other.
Joe is the one that like looks really regal, and it's like
fancy.
it's the one with like the Athena thing, and you like go in on one side and come out the other, and it's like the tail.
Yes, I think so.
I don't know.
Not go there enough. I did not use the libraries. I use the libraries to waste time.
No, I want to go to the libraries because I know that I'm not gonna like study in my dorm. Like I'm like, there's no way that I'm gonna be able to pay attention with my dorm.
The East Station Library is definitely not used enough. Well, it's supposed to be, it's East Station specific, but that one's not used enough, but I've heard it's really pretty. Joe is gorgeous, but good luck finding space. Like everybody uses that place because it's like, so, like it's like all the TikTok photos.
All right, we are going to come back to order here. So we are resuming our meeting. Sometimes we like to celebrate a tiny bit. We will now do the approval of the consent calendar. I think that we are just going to pause for a minute on item 9B, the certificated personnel assignment order. Okay. Is that for the introduction? Okay, great. So we can take a motion. Oh, she just came back. Generally, when we have a new hire for a role, certain roles, we introduce them as part of the consent calendar. So I'll just make this motion. I move that we approve the consent calendar with pulling item 9B for a quick presentation.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, seeing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously, and we will now go to item 9B.
Great. Item 9B, what is that? I'm so glad you asked. 9B is the Cornell principal appointment. This appointment was, I think, a very rigorous process that included a number of folks ranging from Cornell staff to parents, representative from Cornell, and we had a number of applicants and interviews, and the resounding number one in this category from the Cornell staff was our very own Catherine Floresca, and so I'm recommending to the board tonight that, and Catherine it holds a special place in my heart because 4 years ago, her and I came here together. She was a seasoned assistant principal from another school district, and I was coming in as a new superintendent. And so her and I were trying to figure it out together. And so I always have a special place for her right here because that was not easy work. And then the pandemic hit. And so I want to turn this over to Catherine and ask her to come to the podium and say a few words.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Wells, AUSD Cabinet, and everybody here tonight. I just want to say that I am very humbled and excited about the opportunity to serve the Cornell community as principal. But first, I do have to take a moment in gratitude to my Albany Middle School family. It has been such an honor, and I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with such a phenomenal group of educators. I'm so proud of the work that we have done in restorative practices, student wellness, and really meeting kids where they are. It has really inspired me and transformed the way that I see schools. but I am also equally excited about the future. To join an outstanding team at Cornell Elementary. Congratulations, Principal Reimuller and the Cornell staff and teachers on a remarkable school year and earning Cornell California Distinguished School status. Congratulations. I'm so excited. But more so, I really look forward to building relationships with the Cornell families, continuing to serve our students, and continuing all the hard work that everybody has put into making Cornell a great place to be. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you and welcome. We will now take a motion to approve item 9B from the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9B.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. Welcome, Ms. Floresca, to Cornell. Wonderful. We will now have our student board member reports. This is Trustee Dana's final one.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great. I think we were hoping to show the video. Is that? Oh, there we go.
I have to share my screen.
This is the most exciting presentation podium I think we've had in many meetings. It's so nice. It's interactive and engaging.
This is the first time that we're watching this video too. So it was completely no editing. Yeah, non-scripted. Cool. Yeah. Ready? Okay. Yes.
Oh, the audio.
Oh no.
No, I got it. Hang on.
There's technical difficulties when I try sending things.
I have it turned up. Do you want to resend it to me? Yeah. No, it's the file. So just give us a minute to reload. Sorry.
We can also move to the next item and come back to this. If that's okay. It was. Oh, I heard it, but.
Elementary school site visits.
Oh, it's really.
To the board, and it was really successful. And I really loved how.
Okay. I have it turned all the way. Oh. Yeah. I have it turned all the way up.
Why do you keep causing it to the worst moments? Sorry. We'll get there. It's okay. Are the speakers able to be louder?
No, I have it turned all the way up.
The actual speakers.
I wonder if you can just pull your mics. Maybe you know these mics. Sure. Close to it. Okay. Just pull all the mics super close to the speaker.
So what was the most
you
impactful
make it
thing
work,
for them
right?
to come up with?
This year, I thought the most impactful.
Or you can consider giving a narrative, a commentary as we look through it. That might be fun.
Yeah, I'll try and resend it. No, it's. I can send you a different. There. It's so bad. All right.
It's the file.
I don't know that it's I can try sending you this one. Here, try to
She sent
this one.
Oh.
No, that's why she sent it to me.
Is this the one where you? Is this where you accept it?
Yeah, hang on.
Oh, maybe save to. Usually that works.
Bear with us. We're trying. I'm gonna try it again.
We can also move to the we don't. I feel bad that we're taking up time. When does our item end?
You have time. We're ahead of schedule, so you're not scheduled to start until 8:20. So it's okay. Take a couple more minutes, and if we can't get it, we'll figure something else out. Go ahead.
I know. That's so frustrating.
I'm trying to figure out why. You can.
This is even louder than that. Yeah, I could play this and
Wait,
sync
am I-
it. Like, play it. Yeah, we'll start it from the very beginning.
Jeremy's saying.
Okay. That's what we're gonna do.
Sorry. She's going to try to join the meeting on her phone and then work that way. So, sorry. Because it plays on her phone, but it doesn't play on my computer.
You're gonna have to download Zoom. Or do either of you
Oh, wait,
guys
wait,
have
wait.
Zoom on your phone?
Here it goes. Oh, wait, it's working now.
Do you have a board report you want to make right now?
This year, I think the most impactful thing that I took part in was the elementary school site visits. We did a presentation to the board, and it was really successful. And I really loved how it was not just me and Allison; it was a collaboration between a bunch of students from all different grade levels, and we got to get insight from a demographic of students that is often misrepresented or represented by parents, and it was amazing to hear firsthand from them what they thought about school, what they loved about school, what they thought needed changing.
Yeah. For me, oh gosh, that's such a hard question. I'd probably say definitely the SAC as a whole. I was part of the SAC, meaning the Student Advocacy Committee. I was part of the initial group that started it and wrote like the resolution for it. And just seeing it develop and grow over the past 2 years that I've been a part of the board has just been really lovely. And I also loved seeing the track get,
We're gonna try for it better because I know that's really distracting.
It's a little challenging.
No, it's yours. I think. No, it's good. It's the mic. Oh. All right. I'm not on Zoom. Do you want to mute your phone? No, like I'm not on Zoom. What? No, you must.
I think, Julie, you might be unmuted.
This is the weirdest technical difficulties every single time. Yeah, I'm gonna send this to you, Nellie. Great. So Unelli has Zoom. So Unelli's hoping to screen.
Well, we can. Shh. We can do. Why don't we come back to the presentation part? Do you want to do? Is it all tied?
Connected. Yeah, it's fine. We'll do this item later.
Well, can we at least just introduce? Is that okay, or does it ruin it?
Well, yeah, it should be a part of it. Okay. It's a lead-in. Yeah, we'll introduce.
We appreciate your patience already. This is our board meeting. Okay. So we'll just table that for a little bit and see if we can figure it out. If someone wants to, go in and maybe check in with Jeremy and see, do you think? Okay, yeah. He hides in the back of the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
She's going to airdrop it to Jeremy, and then he can share it.
Okay. No, it's great. It's fine. These things, this is the reality. Technology is sometimes smarter than us. Okay, so instead, we're going to jump really quickly right now down to item 12A, which is now a staff report on 1200 Solano.
Thank you, Madam President, Veronica Davidson. I'm going to ask that we pull up the pictures of the elementary school science labs. As you guys know, we have 3 elementary schools. 2 are brand new. The second one being built as we speak and ready to turn over the keys to AUSD in the next week or so. And so I want to give you a visual because once upon a time someone told me a picture is worth the what?
1,000 words.
Okay. And so if we can go to the first slide, on the second slide. I went to Ocean View this morning to look at one of their science classes, and you might see a familiar face. She was so excited to welcome me in and to walk me through her science class. And she had said that, you know what, I saw this on the agenda, and I think this is a great move for all schools to have a science lab. I don't see how you teach science without a science lab. And so kudos for doing what was equitable for all kids. And so this is Ocean View. Next slide. And that's Ann Griffin, our science teacher. This is Marin Elementary Science class. And I'm trying to give a 360 view, so I'm kind of turning as I take a picture. Next slide. Oh, we jumped to the Cornell Science Closet. And you can see the cart in the corner. And this is how the kids learn science. And so tell me that, no one can tell me that this is not a challenge for us when we talk about equity. We have 2 brand new schools. They have a state-of-the-art science lab. And this is how Cornell gets its science with a science teacher living in what is tantamount to a closet. When the board asked me to go back and grapple, I had to go to the space where everything started. What's best for kids? What are our kids getting? Here's an opportunity for them to get what they deserve. And we are certainly hypersensitive when it comes to Cornell because Cornell is not getting everything new. And we're trying to get in front of that by making sure they get an overdue new playground that they got last summer, turned out to be beautiful. They're getting phase 2 of that this summer. And so this is a visual. So I'm going to go to the PowerPoint now. Just so folks know, when it comes to classroom assignments is in the purview of the school principal or designee, and when it comes to district-wide facility use, that's the purview of the superintendent. As I mentioned before, one of my goals, 5.3, was to bring back a proposal to the board for approval of the district office relocation, and we did that last week when the board approved the district office relocation at 1216. And that was the gist of the proposal. But it got kind of murky, I think, because 1200 was associated with that, and it's a separate entity. And so the utilization proposal here for 1200 Solano Avenue, and you can see the small words, and as you get older, your eyes sometimes get kind of challenging, and so mine's are challenging here. But maybe executives, okay. That's super challenging. The new proposal supersedes previous proposal, and it's no longer a proposal, but my decision to have the adult transition program as using part of the district office. The proposal came about by listening to the needs of our students regarding science instruction and to promote equity across elementary campuses. Next slide. The need. It's crystal clear. We just saw the pictures. I mean, no one could dispute that. Actually, I find it kind of despicable. There are approximately 200 4th and 5th graders, students at Cornell Elementary School. They receive science instruction 2 times a week, 2 hours total. Cornell has had a designated science classroom in the past. However, with temporary housing, and that's the key, temporary housing put us all in a tailspin, and we're trying to come out of it now. And enrollment changes, that has not been the case for the 5 past years. Next slide. Cornell science teachers do not have a workspace to prep lessons. We just saw that. We use a storage space that's tantamount to a closet. They bring their materials and textbooks on a rolling cart from class to class. And that means many people are impacted, meaning that when a science teacher goes in and do science with the class, the teacher is on prep and has to leave their class to find a place to prep. And that's not the case in our other elementary schools. So we want to make sure we provide the same instruction they do at Marin and Ocean View. Next slide. Equity for students and teachers. Ocean View and Marin have designated science classrooms at their new sites. We mentioned that. These classrooms also provide storage for materials and textbooks. I think you saw that in the pictures that we presented. But if you didn't, they do. Classroom teachers at OV and Marin have access to their classrooms when their students are in science class, while Cornell teachers must find, as I mentioned before, alternative spaces to work or remain in the classroom while science is being taught. Next slide. Communicates to students that they are valued and that their learning is important when they are in ideal spaces that are cared for and conducive for optimal learning and teaching and learning. It increases access to materials and content. Creates a richer environment for teaching and learning, including anchor charts, instructional models, and more opportunities for student choice. It opens up the highly impacted prep schedule. And we have with us tonight our current principal at Cornell, Liz Reimeller. And if you can come up and talk about this for a moment to give some insight, I think it'd be helpful.
Sure, thank you, Frank. Which part did you want me to focus on?
Opens up the highly impacted prep schedule.
Yeah, that's pretty complicated.
Yes.
So the prep schedule is very complicated because we are fortunate enough to offer science and music to our 4th and 5th grade students. Plus we offer music and library and PE to all students, TK through 5th. So, all those grades are on different schedules. So we have TK and K on one schedule, and they're going back to a full day, and they will have they're going back to a full day. TK will have no early bird, late bird schedule. Kindergarten will have an early bird, late bird schedule that is different from the first through third early bird, late bird schedule. And then we have the first through third early bird, late bird schedule, and we have a 4-5 all-day schedule. So you can only provide prep times to those classes when they're in class and not on an early bird, late bird schedule because only half of the class is there at any given time. So trying to fit all of those classes in, if you can think that you have, for example, one example is you have 22 sections, 23 at Ocean View, 21 at Marin, but approximately 22 sections of that's classes. You need to teach PE to them twice a week. That is 44 sections of PE. Those are half-hour slots that need to be fit into that schedule, and it can't be at the same time as they would be having music schedule or their library schedule, for example. So that is a huge, huge complicated puzzle piece. With the 4th and 5th grade science and math, we have teachers who work at multiple sites, which also adds an additional complication because, for example, Jingle Jeff can only teach music in one place in one school at a time. So they move about. for science and math, we have a rotating yearly schedule. So right now, for example, Cornell had science on Fridays. Next year, they'll have it on Tuesdays, and so forth. So everybody has sort of a fair shot at the days of the week when you have your prep time. So all of this comes into play, and what we have when we have a designated classroom is we can have the classes go multiple days rather than feeding them all into 1 or 2 days a week. So you're by opening up that 4-5 prep, those days, you can then slot other preps into those days, and there isn't a conflict. So that is what I mean by opening up the prep schedule.
Thank you so much for that. Next slide. The designated classroom is planned to be used for mental health group counseling, band, choir, and musical theater, assessing standardized tests, the local assessment fast bridge, and special education IEPs, benefiting the whole school, both staff and students. The next slide. Utilization. Adult transition program moves to 1200. Moves from 1200 Solano to Albany High School room M4. M4, for those who saw it, is not anything to snub the nose up against. It's a wonderful class. Cornell Elementary reclaims 1200 Solano as a science classroom. This new proposal maximizes the utility of the space for the greatest good to our students. So I'm not bringing it as a recommendation, but as information about my assignment of the transition program to M4, and then the Cornell reclaim their space and get what they ought to have, like other schools, a dedicated multi-use science lab. And that concludes my staff report for this evening.
We'll now open it up to board questions and comments. Yep, Vice President Boyd.
Lots of thoughts. Okay, so anyone who knows me knows I'm not interested in pointing fingers at people. Nobody's perfect. No process is perfect. We all do the best that we can. And I believe that. So I want to express my personal frustration with the twists and turns that have happened with this process and considering different uses for the space and this kind of late in the game change, and how this has been really challenging. I can speak personally, and I know that it's been more challenging for others who are more directly impacted by what happens here than I am. I don't say that to say that there was some sort of nefarious plan and, this was the knowledge all along and people did, I'm not suggesting any of that. I'm just acknowledging that this is a difficult place to be at this point after we have gone through all the various iterations of this. I also want to recognize and acknowledge the importance that all of our elementary schools be treated equitably, and recognize the importance in particular that we be very clear and aware of the difference between having two newly constructed schools and one that is not. I will share that as a Marin parent, having my 5th grader lose the last 2 years that she was going to be on campus at her school was not nothing for us, so I don't want to give the impression that, it's all kind of lollipops and roses for us Marin families, but I absolutely recognize the importance that we have as equal of facilities and providing of programs and resources and everything to all of our elementary school students and all of our students in the district, but I absolutely want to recognize the importance of that. And I want to say that, to me, allyship means listening to people who have had experiences that I don't have. I do not have special needs, a disability, a learning disability, nor did my mother who raised me, nor do my daughters who I am raising. I don't have personal experiences with what those challenges are. And so what I try to do is be as quiet as possible and listen to those who are having those experiences and who teach and provide services and resources to students and families who are working through those experiences, so that I can learn how to do a better job of providing what is needed and to amplify the voices of people who are telling us what it is that they need. So it is not for me to tell students of the adult transition program where they would be happy or where they should feel comfortable or how services are going to be even better if they are in one place versus another place. That is not my position. My position is to listen to what is said to me and to try to hold a microphone up to people who are saying those things and to try to take that information and learn from it and try to help make decisions that do the very best job that we all can to honor those experiences, particularly when they're those that we don't experience ourselves, so have no personal knowledge of. And I also want to highlight the statement that was up there that talked about the space communicating to students that they are valued and that their learning is important. And I want to make sure that we recognize that that principle, that the importance of that value is something that we need to be extending to all of the students in our district, all of them. All of that said, I do recognize, and I also honor and recognize the fact that I do not have a career in education. I am new to this. It seems appropriate to me that it is not for here to decide how classroom spaces are allocated. It's not something that I usually am a part of, so to me, that makes sense. Again, I haven't been doing this that long, so I defer to people who know better than I do, but that makes sense to me. So if that is how this goes, then I respect that that's how this goes. But I just want to communicate how extremely important it is for our commitment to the students in the adult transition program and the people who teach them to be strengthened and to not be, if this is a move that's going to happen, and that's just kind of where we are, I just want to say very strongly that the importance that this is not a done deal, that this is something that is deferring to the students and the teachers and staff who are providing services and teaching those students and leading those students, but that if that's their position as well, but this be a temporary move while we are all working together to try to figure out the very best place where there can be. And the last thing that I'll say is just that I had the opportunity to visit the space and to visit the people who inhabit that space. And sometimes you have to make bad decisions and sometimes things don't go the way you want them to, but I just want to acknowledge what a beautiful space that is. The love and the warmth and the sunlight, the colors, the flowers, the care that has gone into making sure that each of those different spaces in the room serve the students who are there in all the different unique ways that those students need to be served. And you can't always get what you want, but I want to acknowledge that it isn't nothing to have gone into that space and turned it into what it is now. And I believe that we need to be committed to make sure that our students and teachers and staff who have been inhabiting that space land in a place that is, and I know it will be beautiful and filled with love and warmth because those are the people who inhabit the space, but I want us to be clear about the commitment that we have to those people to land in a place that they can feel comfortable and valued and honored. Thank you.
It is my role as president to make sure we stick to our schedule, and I'm just going to try and make sure that we as board members stick to our 5-minute comments on each agenda item, just so that we maintain time for the public to speak. So if there are other board comments on this item, please go ahead. Go ahead, Trustee Hopwood.
what Melissa said was so beautiful that I really don't have an awful lot more to add. But I do just want to mention really quickly the issue of equity, and it's something that's always been an issue and will continue to be, and I'm sure this is not the last we'll hear of it as far as Cornell is concerned. When my children were at Marin School, and they were there for 11 years in total, they spent a lot of time in portables, so they had their fourth and fifth grade classrooms, all three of them were in portables for that. They didn't have a dedicated science room. They had Elaine Wong with her cart. They had the most beautiful, rich academic experience throughout their time in Albany. So it didn't detract from that. The reason that Marin and Ocean View were built is because in 2012, when they were inspected, seismic inspection, it's because they were deemed to be unsafe. That's why those schools are rebuilt. And I totally understand that now Cornell is looking to those schools and wishing the same for their children, because we all want what's best for our kids, and I totally understand that. But that does not mean that the quality of education, as Cornell has demonstrated with its distinguished school status, is any less at Cornell. So I just want to really remember that. And I think the reason I found this whole last number of weeks and many hours of discussion and reflection about the transition program and where it should end up. This is not typically something the board deals with in terms of placement and programs and where to put classes, etc. But this was presented to us as a board, something that we needed to consider. It was a review and discussion, it was a review and action. And so now we're being told that it no longer is that, and it's a bit difficult for us to suddenly pivot from being very invested in this conversation and this outcome, and suddenly everything has changed and we're being told, no, it's no longer the purview of the board. So I accept that, I understand that, I realize that our roles are fairly clearly defined in terms of what we do and don't comment on and sort of govern, but that's why it's a really difficult place to be right now, is to be sitting here. And as Melissa, Trustee Khan and I went into the space in January, and it's profound. I mean, I really honestly think if anybody wants to be touched by a program, I mean, that is, it's just testament to people like you, Ashley, and Kat, and Woody, and everyone else who contributes to that program. And I know that wherever you land will be a really amazing, special program. I have absolutely no doubt in that at all. But I just want to say this has been a difficult and complicated process to go through. And that's all I have to say, but thank you.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to follow what Trustee Boyd and Trustee Hopwood said, but I think I'm trying to say this as kindly as I can, but this whole process has been extremely disappointing and frustrating for a lot of us because, we've been given mixed signals, we've been given different, yes, you do have a say, no, you don't have a say, and it's frustrating because it does not allow us to properly form the decisions that we need to or to really think about how we can serve our students. So, I do want to acknowledge, everything that Trustee Hopwood said about, yes, it is not the board's place to decide where classroom spaces go, and yet I also want to acknowledge the fact that at our last board meeting, we approved everything but the superintendent's office space, and in that moment we were told this would be a votable item for us, and so that is how we have grappled with it. That's why we asked the Special Education Committee to come back with recommendations for us, and so it is extremely frustrating to have so many folks involved and invested in a process, and then to tell them, oh, this is no longer in your space to comment on. So it's extremely frustrating, and like Trustee Vice President Boyd said, when we talk about supporting all of our students, it's extremely frustrating because you put up, statements of how we need to think about all of our students, but why is it that when it comes to our special education students, we don't prioritize them in the same way? It feels like we are continuously coming back to a space of, some folks are being left as a last thought, and it is seen and it is felt. And I say this as somebody with disabilities, as somebody who has navigated education with disabilities. We see it. We might not say it to you, but we see it, and it is felt, not just by us, but by our families, by our loved one, etc. And it is extremely frustrating to be on the back burner every single time and to fight twice as hard as anyone else, because we are often the smallest voice in the room. And just, I'm gonna stop there because this is extremely frustrating for me. So just, I hope we can do better for all of us. And like Trustee Boyd said, this for me is not the end of a discussion. And this is a discussion that needs to involve all of the individuals that are actively impacted by this decision. That's all.
Madam Chair, I just think it's fitting to reassure not only the board, but the community, and I'm going to ask Dr. Biggs to come on up for a moment, because we will continue to work with not just the transition program, but since the transition program is a topic of discussion, to reassure the community and the board of our continued commitment to work with our transition program, although they will be assigned to M4, some of the things that we can do with the transition program. But it's important to note that more importantly, in terms of quality of program, that we work together, that we don't have this kind of division where we pit ourselves against one program or one set of students versus another set of students. This must be a collaborative approach. When we start getting into the divisiveness of this group versus that group, it's really detrimental to all groups. And so it's important to highlight that we must continue to be collaborative and work together, and realize that we don't always land where we want exactly, but with, more importantly, I think Trustee Hopwood said it best about not the space, but the quality of instruction and experience that the instructor provides really can supersede and ensure kids get the kind of experience that that they ought to get. And so I wanted Dr. Biggs to talk about some of the stuff he shared with me the other day about the opportunities that M4 may present, and to reassure that just because...
Actually, sorry, we are actually over time on this item. Can we, so we can either vote to extend it, which will extend our meeting. We need to take our public comment, which at this point will be 1 minute apiece. I have to keep us on schedule. I'm so sorry, you guys. That is literally my job up here. So if we could, I think, Dr. Biggs, there are a couple very quick points that we need to make on this, and that is things just to clarify what was set up here. So we just need a quick motion to maybe extend this item for 5 minutes, 6. I see 1 public comment here, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to need 10 minutes total for this agenda item.
I'll make a motion to extend this agenda item for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Seeing no opposition, we'll extend this agenda item for 10 minutes. The things that I think would be helpful to clarify were statements made. One statement is that we consult with our Special Education Advisory Committee. And the second is just very quickly to hear your maybe your position on this, seeing as you run the special education program. And so those 2 things I think would be very helpful.
And in addition to that, our unwavering commitment to the program.
Of course. Yeah, thank you so much, Superintendent Wells and Board of Education. I know this is a really difficult time, but I also see it as an opportunity. I will say that the Special Education Advisory Committee met following the last board meeting to really brainstorm some ideas. And the way I have seen this since we've started thinking about moving our program to M4 is about continuing to look at alternative program ideas for the future. And that's something that myself, as well as Dr. Wells and Ashley, have been discussing and committing to. Now, we don't know what that looks like, and it's going to take some time. But I also see that with like the one place that we would have some stability and being able to have a range of learning differences for students that could be able to be there for not just the 70%, 30% of the time, but also 100% of the time, depending if they needed that support, and having additional support being on the high school campus it could be really beneficial. Now, we don't have students with those severities at this particular time, but we will. And so that's something that I have to be thinking about as the director in the overarching program. I worry sometimes about not having enough staff. And I've used the terminology isolated, and I know that's been a level of frustration from staff members. And when I say isolated, it means that I don't have the ability to have additional staff there to support the students and the staff. And so there is a thing about being in Albany and being in a community and being in a public integrated facility, which is really important. So I think it's really great that, one, we're going to be continuing to have this conversation with the Special Education Advisory Committee to be looking at alternative locations. But my position on the matter is, and it has always been on the matter, is our adult transition program is not a class, it is a program. And Ashley Sachs has developed a beautiful program. And wherever that location is that we have our home base, it is going to thrive. And we will make this work. So I know that it is not ideal, and I know it's hard to uproot, but I also want to comment that we've gone through so many different iterations throughout our district for rebuilds. Years ago, when we were going to move from the San Gabriel campus, the plan was to go to the high school. And so like that had been our long-term plan before, but with opportunities, we pivoted. And so right now, I think being able to go to M4 could be a long-term solution as a home base while we continue to look for an alternative program for our students that may be more accessible in the community, as had been presented by Ashley and some other individuals. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Okay, if you would like to make a public comment, please make sure that you have filled out the comment card and it gets into Julie's hands up here. Please approach the podium. Julie, we're going to set that timer for 1 minute. I'm going to go with our in-person comments first and then our virtual comments after that. Please go ahead.
Hi again. I only have a minute, so I'll go quickly. I'm just really disappointed. Just like you said, Dr. Wells, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I wish you had included the photos of transition classrooms in the past. You can't ignore environment matters, just like you said, even if our instructor is amazing. I wish this was a board decision, as often students with disabilities are silenced and we don't have a space to speak up. It's amazing that you were hypersensitive to Cornell, but you didn't provide us with that same grace. You listened to science's needs, but not ours. I find this despicable as well. This all seems, unfortunately, extremely strategic after the results of our last meeting regarding Albany adult transition. I know I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm particularly disappointed with some calculated moves, and I find it surprising that it was easy for you to move your office when it was science, but not for students with disabilities. Dr. Wells, now that this is your decision, I feel as though we have not been working together, and actions speak louder than words. I am looking forward to
Thank you so much for your comment.
I'm going to finish my sentence.
Thank you so much for your comment. We're going to stick.
That we will take the actions we will take in the future.
Thank you. We are having 1 minute per speaker, and I'm going to give the 3 extra seconds from when it beeps after that. Okay, please speak when the timer starts.
I'm appalled that this is being addressed as an issue of equity. I'm a parent at Cornell. I'm also a parent of a student in special education. I want to remind the board and the staff here that it was only in 1966 in the Elementary Secondary Education Acts that students with disabilities were guaranteed public education at all. Before this, people with disabilities, it was up to charity. This legacy is still with us. And it is still with us, the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Only 3.1% are working in regular integrated jobs. 93.2% are in sheltered work and day services. These are adults in regional center. I would say that the board has the obligation to make sure that issues of equity.
Thank you so much for your comment. We really appreciate it. Next comment, please. Thank you so much for your comment. We really appreciate it.
Hi there. I'm also a Cornell a parent, and I'm quite involved with the PTA and other activities. So I'm happy for the progress that Cornell is making. But to take a phrase that Vice President Boyd used, you can not always get what you want, but what we've been asking all along is to get what we need. And at minimum, what the adult transition program needs is a fair process that is not just let's have a meeting and pretend that that was the process. Let's have a meeting and then let's really discuss all the options available for the adult transition program to thrive. It may end up at M4. And I personally would be fine with it as long as the process is fair and equitable, as you keep saying that it is going to be.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, this is Ashley. I couldn't not speak tonight because this is my heart. I just wanted to thank Trustee Boyd for your beautiful words, and Trustee Hopwood for speaking, and Trustee Khan. I wish Ron was able to stay. Trustee Rosenbaum, I feel like he should have been a part of this conversation too. This process was not transparent. This process is not inclusive. And it only started to be collaborative a week ago, but there was no follow-up on any of the ideas I presented when I knew we were having a meeting with the Special Ed Advisory Committee the next day. When I took my children to different sites, my personal children to different sites, to scout out options for us, and there was no follow-up. This is not fair and this is not right. And it's taking away from my energy and my emotional ability to be there for my students, which is the most important part of this conversation.
Thank you so much.
And it's hard to work with.
We really appreciate it.
This circumstance.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, we're moving to our virtual speakers now.
Hi, this is Kathleen Marte. Hi, this is Kathleen Marte, mother of a student at Albany High, and I am extremely shocked because the reason that we were told that the transition program could not stay in the space that they made their home, that is appropriate for them, was because the district offices had to have that space. It was imperative for the functioning of the office. Well, that now feels like that was an excuse, and I'm very hurt for our students with disabilities that their needs are always put last. They get excluded. To this day, discrimination still happens, and their needs are put last. It's not fair, and I'm very disappointed in the people who were involved in this decision, and I feel like that they need to take a step back, and we need to have a proper process.
Thank you for your comment.
Yes, my name is Sophie, and I've been speaking for a while at each of these meetings, and I just want to repeat what people have said, that this honestly feels like an excuse. As a parent, a Cornell parent, without children in the transition program, I feel like this doesn't do any good for either groups of students. I don't know where the discussion of having a science classroom came from, and while I do think it's important, I still just don't see where has this come from. Last week or last time it was imperative that we find a space for the offices, and now we've changed that to let's find a space for science. And I think science is very important, but I think we have much more creative ways to solve this problem. By using 1,200 for the YMCA to host both the ELO and before and after care, by leaving transition in 12-16, and then by using room 7 on campus for science. We have amazing teachers and volunteers who can do amazing things in limited spaces, but we should give them the space that they need.
Thank you so much for your comment. We are going to take our last public comment from our virtual audience now so that we can close out this agenda item.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Thies. I am a long-term resident in the district and also the parent of students with disabilities and an education advocate at the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund. I really want to second what Mr. Castillo just said regarding the process. The most important thing in my view that we can offer our children is to show them how to participate, include, and listen to diverse voices. I'm very disappointed at the way this is played out. Regardless of the decision, the students themselves have been left out. And it feels like there's just been a lot going on behind the scenes that hasn't been transparent, and I'm very disappointed in the process itself. We can do better, and we have modeled for our children something that I think we do not want to model, which is that, you know, we're going to say there's 200 students here, 5 students there, therefore, you know, this one trumps that one. It goes against the spirit of the
Thank you so much for your comment. All right. We are now going to close this agenda item, and we are going to move on to our staff report, item 11A, which is the Albany High School Math Update Year in Review.
Yeah. I got to say that this is a rough transition. Maybe if we could take about 30 seconds for a transition, and then I can introduce the high school math folks.
We can do 30 seconds, but we are definitely pushing behind on our agenda.
I do 15 seconds. Okay. So
deep breaths.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Are you ready? Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to really quickly do our student board member report that we had to table earlier for a few minutes. I apologize for that.
We'll make this really quick, we promise. It's not quite 15 minutes, it's 7 or so. So yeah, let's play the video.
Still not, yeah. He's doing it.
Okay.
I think he's working on it.
Okay, math report.
Let's introduce. You've waited so long, so patiently. Thank you.
All right, everyone. We had a little video reveal. Ayush was actually the one that was asking us the interview questions behind the camera.
Aww.
And we switched the camera around, and there he was. So I'm going to hand it off to him.
Can you send us the link to that? So we
Yes.
And we'll get it added to the agenda packet so that it can be out there, okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, then we can all watch it at home later or tomorrow or something. Thank you for that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's perfect.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ayush Devdar. I'm a 10th grade student and incoming student board member. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity and position, and I'm really excited to bring my ideas to the board over the next couple of years, as well as meet and collaborate with all these new people, and I'm really excited to make an impact on this community.
Let me just say welcome, and I can speak for all of us on this issue, that we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. We're going to look forward to watching that video. I'd also like to make sure that we add the photos that were shown on the last agenda item into the agenda. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. What? Yes.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, I know we had the opportunity to interview a lot of wonderful students, and we're really excited to have you. And I wanted to say, I know you are starting your term now, but just wanted to say, even stuff that you mentioned during your interview are things that, you know, we felt impacted by and have already been brought to the board, and they're already being worked on. So it was just amazing to see how, you know, just even those kind of conversations can lead to so much change. So congrats on already making change to to the high school campus before even starting your term, and I'm excited to continue working with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All right. Welcome again. Okay. We're now going to do our report on the Albany High School math. Please, I promise, this time for real.
While they're coming up really quickly, last year we acknowledged that we had some challenges in the high school math program, and our leadership in the high school met them head on. And they were very honest and collaborative, and as they began to grapple with those issues. And although this is our first year with Annie J., our math coach, I think it gives an indication of where we are and where we're going. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Principal McNally.
All right, thank you very much. So just to follow up on what Superintendent Wells said, so in March of last year, there was a board workshop around mathematics and the mathematics program at Albany High School that covered a wide variety of different topics. Today, we're going to provide some follow-up to that with some interventions, some additional steps that we've put in place since then, and also just an update on the data we have around math and math achievement at the high school. And I'll just preface it by saying in our process of putting all this together, we've actually been very impressed with especially considering what's happened regarding the pandemic, at where our students are. And I really want to lay that very squarely on our teachers and the incredible work that they've done over the past few years.
Yeah, thank you. I think some of the credit also goes to our incredible students. I just, throughout my work as the math coach, I've just been really inspired watching my fellow teachers just like take on these challenges and take on these conversations and bring what we are doing together into their classrooms. But I've also been really inspired to just watch our students really blossom, and that's been really touching to me this year. You can go ahead to the next slide, and I can just kind of give an overview of the format. So for this presentation, we're going to look at it through the lens of multi-tiered systems of student support, which is one of our kind of big AUSD initiatives. And one of the big tenets is that first you collect data and you analyze the data and you look at what it means, and you learn from the data to drive the supports and instructional practices that you put into place. And so we're going to start with a lot of data. And I have a lot more graphs than this, but I tried to pare it down. And then from there, we'll talk about some of the Tier 1 interventions that we have and have put into place, and then some of the Tier 2 interventions. And then our Tier 3 interventions are kind of more school-wide and more targeted interventions. And so as math coach, that haven't been my focus this year, but as something we're working on as a school as a whole. So you can go to the next slide, and we'll take a look at some data.
Great. So for data comparison purposes, we decided to look at this by comparing the fall of 2019 with the fall of 2022. The reason we picked 2019 is it's the closest pre-pandemic period of time we have for the sake of comparison. Just as a reminder, this year's seniors, the graduating class of 2023, were freshmen in the fall of 2019. So looking here, this just past semester, 48% of math students earned an A, 31% earned a B. That's approximately consistent with the trends we see in other academic departments as well. And overall, we had 2% of students who did not pass their mathematics course. In comparison with 2019, the number of students earning an A is much higher than it was, and also the number of students who passed their class was much higher than it was. Indicating that there's been a lot of work done to help students succeed and persist in their math classes, which is really showing up in the data that we have around their grades and their performance. You can go and advance to the next slide. So this is, again, kind of breaking it down by grade level. And there's a few trends here that stick out. The first one is the lower grades for freshmen, including the somewhat higher failure rate for freshmen. This, again, has gotten much better comparing 2019 with 2022. And I really want to put that really at the work of our math teachers to really help those students be successful. And this is also a trend that we see in other departments as well. Freshman year is a little bit of the challenge. We know that anytime students go through a transition, there can always be disruptions. And we definitely see that as well with their mathematics grades. And then notice, of course, that just one thing I want to point out, for fall of 2022, every senior who took math passed it. It's great. And I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Ms. Fishberg for the rest of this.
And you can go to the next slide again. One more.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So one of the questions that came up last year was, how does enrollment change between the different pathways, the different sequences that we have in mathematics at Albany High School, with one of the goals being to reduce the amount of movement between those different groups, not because we want students to kind of stay stuck somewhere, but because we want to be better at placing students at the appropriate level for them, and also providing options. So what we've seen is that there has overall been less movement between the different tracks that students have been in, especially at the 9th grade level, whereas in the 1920 school year, we had approximately a quarter of the students who moved from the accelerated math pathway to the standard math pathway. That was lowered to 10% for this year. We have always seen some movement between these different groups. You know, the Math 2+, it's not a surprise those numbers go down a little bit. We encourage students to really take on a challenge and leave the door open for them to move if they feel the need to. The 2019-2020 numbers, especially for seniors, are a little bit worse than what is usually the case, and that's because in the spring, we just closed because of COVID, and students who knew they might not need a certain math class for college, something like that, dropped their math classes. That's one of the reasons why we had those numbers there. But overall, we've seen significantly more persistence in math courses, and overall more students taking and staying in their math courses.
So one of the other things that we've been trying to get a handle on, and I just want to do a little shout out to Peter Bloomberg, who's a data analyst in a data analysis program and has been volunteering to help me make a bunch of the next graphs. The next graphs all come from our SBAC CASP scores, and because the 22-23 scores aren't available yet, these are all last year's scores and before then. But we just grabbed a number of schools in the area to try to do a comparison of how our scores have changed over time and how they compare to other schools around us. You'll notice that there's a kind of big spike in scores in 2021. It's kind of readily acknowledged that that test was easier, and also because it was administered online. We didn't quite get as many students to take it, and a lot of other schools didn't get as many students to take it, so that's why you see that spike up. And then that drop down afterwards is not particularly meaningful because the spike was artificial in the first place. But you can see that in comparison to a number of schools in our area, our scores are quite high. I did have a minute of why is Palo Alto's scores higher than ours, and I did a bunch of research. They get twice as much money per student as we do. And so I could just spend a minute imagining the things that we could provide for our students if we had that kind of money. But you can go to the next slide. So for the next couple, I just want to lay some groundwork. I wanted to explore the idea of a cohort. So if we look at the students who took the 11th grade SBAC last year, and we think about follow their test scores back in time. So the earliest available scores on the website were when they were in 4th grade. And we can watch their scores change from 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, 8th, and then 11th, and kind of see how that changes over time. So that's one of the things that we did. And we also were interested in the idea of what is a similar school to ours, what is a similar district to ours, and we defined a similar district as being districts that had similar proportions of different demographics, as well as we were going for a similar size, and that's not always possible. So the next couple graphs will have a list of schools that we're doing comparisons with, and we generated that list by looking for other schools in the area that have similar demographic breakdowns to AUSD. So you can go to the next slide. We can generate these graphs with other schools for comparison and with other cohorts. So this graph right here was kind of, here's our cohort. They start out in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, all the way up. How is our achievement gap changing over time? Because we know that this is something that you don't fix in one single year. This is something that we want to be working towards narrowing the achievement gap over a student's whole time here at Albany. And so you can see kind of all of our different student demographics and how their scores are changing. One that stuck out to me was that drop for our English language learner students. And I went around and I talked to our English language learner teachers. And one of the things that I found out is that there's quite a bit of intention and activity to help students graduate out of the ELL program in middle school, to help them through that RFEP process. And what happens when they graduate out of no longer needing English language learner services is they stop being represented in that number. And so I think that drop is not student scores going down. What it is students with high scores are graduating out of the program. I did also notice that our special ed scores are quite low, and that was concerning to me as well. And so I've been doing some work to pair up with the special ed teachers. And I think particularly that drop from 2018, 2019 to 2021, 2022 was concerning. But I think the other thing that we all acknowledge and know is that online school was a particularly difficult time to serve the needs of our special ed students. And so I would hope that if we look at this graph next year, that last drop would not be as significant. And then also just a note that we do have this graph that has our Black African American students on it. We just couldn't put it in this presentation because our numbers are low enough that it could be identifiable information. So we have looked at that together. Go to the next slide. So then I wanted to see kind of if this is how our achievement gap changes over time, how does that compare with other districts in our area? And so you can see our graph looks fairly concerning when you look at it on its own, but when you compare it with the county data, it's fairly clear that we are doing some work in our district to narrow the achievement gap, where that's not a trend that you see in the county as a whole. We can generate these graphs for any other school district, and so we've looked at some other school districts as well, and I have not seen one that has the same narrowing trends that we have. So that was really heartening for me. Go to the next slide. So the other thing that we can generate is just picking out one specific demographic group and looking at kind of how our students' test scores are comparing to that demographic group's test scores in other districts in our area. And this is, again, that cohort data following students from 4th grade to 11th grade. And so you can kind of see the trends for our English language learners was concerning in that large graph, but they're doing quite well and making good progress when you compare our English language learner students with English language learners in other districts. And our Hispanic students have made some real strides in their test scores. That one was particularly exciting. You can go to the next slide. And then we can look at that same graph for our special ed students. I think in particular, this was one where I thought about, what kinds of services could we have offered our special ed students over Zoom if we had Palo Alto money. But I think it's also an opportunity to think about kind of how we invest resources and how we send resources to different programs, and just to see that while our scores for our special ed students are much better than a lot of other districts with similar demographics, that there's still room to grow, and just thinking about how do we meet the needs of our students. And one thing that was very striking is our socioeconomically disadvantaged student scores. From my analysis, it seems like we're meeting the needs of those students incredibly well. And I'd love to kind of dig into that a little bit more. What are the programs that we have in place that are really supporting those students? That was very exciting. Go to the next slide. So then I wanted to look at kind of what are the things that we're doing to support our students. And the first intervention tier, tier 1, is all about what all of the students are getting, what is happening in the classroom to meet the needs of all of our students. And so this is a list of things that we're doing new this year, but also from the past, continuing to do. The CPM and MVP are the 2 math curriculums that we're using, and those are inquiry-based learning.
Can you please give the names of them? Thank you.
College preparatory math and the Math Vision Project are what those are called. They're both inquiry-based learning, and so they're really focused on empowering student voice, helping students make the discoveries, creating students' sense of self as math learners, and that can be really big in a student's feeling of agency and efficacy in the math classroom. You can go to the next slide because I'll talk about the rest of them. One of our big missions in Tier 1 is looking at culturally responsive teaching and equity in the math classroom, and also with the difficulty of the jump from middle school to high school, doing some professional development with the middle school math teachers and high school math teachers together to build those relationships and start laying the groundwork for working together to kind of smooth that jump. So one of the things that we did this year was professional development with the middle school math teachers and high school together through CPM, which is the company that supplies the secondary math textbooks. And we looked at things like, what do power dynamics look like in the math classroom? What do our classrooms look and feel like? This Y chart is an activity that we all did together where we brainstormed, who participates in class, whose ideas are shared, what students feel capable, who feels welcome, who feels safe, and then to have a large conversation among all of us about how to empower all of our students to feel that they have agency, they have power, and they have a sense of belonging in our classrooms. You can go to the next slide. And then another thing that we did is worked with Jen Gripman, and I piloted with her Universal Design of Learning UDL sequence, and then brought that back to my department. And we took a look at, I gave each teacher a list of their students with Ds and Fs, and they thought individually about what barriers those students were facing to access their classroom. And this is just a little snippet of the UDL barrier chart, but we took a minute and we put dots on the chart of where our students were experiencing barriers. And we found out that a lot of us aligned in that bottom left box of sustaining effort and persistence. So then as a department, we focused on that and we shared out strategies that we had for helping students build perseverance, build persistence. One of the big sections is making the learning, heightening the salience of goals and objectives, making the learning meaningful. And you can put that photo up if you want. So I just pulled, I had a little sample of student work as an example of them kind of explaining their own thinking as heightening salience. But we talked about strategies and then we tried them in our classrooms, and we're looking to continue that work in the future. You can go to the next slide. One more. That's the student work right there. So then one of the other things we've been doing is piloting standards-based grading. There was a question of how do we help students see the link between the work that they're doing and the grade that they're receiving, and can really connect their grade to the learning, both as a way to help them understand, but also mostly to give them a sense of agency over the grade. That the idea is when you learn the material, then your grade improves, and your grade is a measure of how well you've mastered the material. And so the the standards-based grading pilot in Math 2, I think, has been really successful. This is a little snippet of what that looks like in ARIES, that your grade, rather than being tests and quizzes and homework, is split up into the different topics that we're going to learn. And then as a student, you can look at your grade and you can tell right away, as we're studying for finals, I should be studying equations and modeling, and that's the section of the review packet that I should throw most of my time into. And my experience teaching Math 2 last year and this year has been, it's just a totally different ballgame this year. My students really are coming up to me, and instead of saying, like, my grade is bad, how do I make it better? They're coming up to me and they're saying, can I get some help on equations and modeling? What does that mean? And so that's been very exciting. You can go to the next slide. So then our Tier 2 supports. Tier 2 is like a little bit more targeted intervention, small group interventions. And just we have our math hour, which is after school Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's happening this Thursday if you want to come, where students can drop in and get math support from math teachers in the library. We have written a course called Academic Peer Support, which we're hoping is going to run next year. We're still not positive that we have the enrollment numbers, but I think we're really close. Which would be teaching students how to tutor other students, and then doing a model where they get paired with a classroom that needs a peer tutor, and then they go into that room and tutor their peers. And so that's not just math, it could be tutoring in any subject, but I'm really excited about that, and I hope it goes through. And then we have our math support classes and our math support advisory. We've just started looking at that data, but one of the things that we've found already is if we look at students who got a D or F in Math 1, and we look at their Math 2 grades, and we split them up into students who were placed in Math 2 support and were not, there's a full 1-point GPA difference in math between those two groups of students. And so I think that is, while it's not conclusive, it is a sign that these math support classes are really helping students be successful in math, and that was very exciting. You can go to the next slide. But I think it also raises the question of what about the students who got a D or F in Math 1 and did not take the support class? What kinds of supports are available for them? And so that led me to these next steps. In the kind of world of multi-tiered systems of support, the next steps would be to identify students who are not being served by Math Hour math support classes, conduct interviews to identify what their needs are, and then use that data to drive new programs, changing programs, different kinds of supports, to implement and evaluate this academic peer support class, I hope, and then to continue our data analysis on course placement and grade data. So we've looked a lot at SBAC and CASP scores, and so just looking at other types of data that we have. Continuing our universal design for learning process, that cyclical process of building strategies, implementing strategies, and then talking about how they're going in our classrooms. And then looking at our anti-racist and culturally responsive teaching, that we have our last Building on Equity professional development this June 5th, and then thinking about, we have more professional development as a school site. What are our professional development needs, and what does that look like going forward? Go to the next slide. So thank you. And if there's any questions.
Yeah, so we will now take board comments or questions on the math presentation. Yeah, go ahead. Trustee Dana, we'll start with you.
I'd just like to recognize Ms. Fishberg and Mr. McNally for working on this. Ms. Fishberg, I know you stay at the school until 9 p.m. some days, even later, 10 during tech week for musicals and theater. And it's insane to me how you find the time. And I know you say this is like your job, and it, like, you also are teaching units as well. And it's just like insane to me how you're able to accomplish this. And at some point you came up to me with these graphs, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. And I said, I'd like it if the colors matched up. And then you went and changed the colors. And so I want to give a big shout out. This was super comprehensive, and I feel like even now I'm learning stuff. So yeah.
Thank you.
Just really quickly, thank you. That was so interesting. And 2 of my kids had you as their teacher, either for math or, what was the other, can't remember the other class you took, but anyway, we're teaching. Yes, that's it. One computer and one's math. But I love the breakdown that you just presented with the subtopics in math, because that would have been so useful, you know, to be able to review and to really hone in on something. It could make a huge difference in a grade and in comprehension and confidence giving, and I just appreciate that so much. So thank you for all of your hard work.
Yes. Trustee Garcia Bustamante.
Yeah, this presentation was amazing, and I'm so glad that we have you as a math coach. You're clearly very dedicated and passionate about this, and it like reflects in this. I really wanted to like give a lot of appreciation and just thanks to the collaboration between the high school teachers and the middle school teachers. I think that was very needed, and the topics you guys discussed were incredible, and I think that this is really going to do a lot of change. And I think it, you know, as a student, I think that I've been seeing things a little bit differently than things used to be, and I really, really appreciate this.
Yes. Just to add to that, last year I received way more comments about the math programs and curriculum and all of that sort of stuff as a student board member, and that has like significantly decreased this year from my peers.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that. So I think this is the result of many emails to the board and comments at board meetings that we had some challenges in our math department, and I'm really grateful that our district took it seriously and put resources here, to better support all students, because it's great if you teach a class of students, but it's better if you teach the teachers all how to best teach their students. Just a couple of quick questions that I had. One, have tests been aligned to the standards-based grading a little bit more?
Yeah, I could talk about that. I think the other thing that I just want to make clear is, you know, I have done a little bit of teaching other math teachers things, but my sense has been this year, like as a department, we had this in us all along. And just like to have a little more resources and a little more time to get together and talk about it. You know, I think everybody thinks when you're doing professional development, somehow you're like making people do things differently. And my experience has been like, you get people in a room together and you say, hey, let's talk about how to serve students. And like everybody shows up for that. And it's been really heartwarming, even, you know. Your question was, aligning the test to the standards. So one of our high school math, one of our high school goals as a site has been to look at our standards and to begin working on the process again of writing our standards for our 9th grade and 10th grade courses, and then aligning our assessments to those standards. And so that's really like flown right into this conversation about standards-based grading in Math 2. Each course has a lead teacher who writes the assessments, but we've worked as a department to write our list of standards, and then that process of looking at the standards and aligning the test to them has been something that we've taken department time to do. I think our assessments have always been fairly aligned with our standards, but just having that time to really take intention into it has been really valuable this year.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, I think the activity with the Y chart and making it more meaningful is really helpful. I've been taking like a Stanford class online of how to teach math to kids, and I just started to see little snippets, carrying over, and I can, it's really wonderful to see that the kids have that, like you said, agency. Can I just, show of hands, is there public comment interest on this? Okay, we have one. Okay, we have 3 minutes left for this item, so do you have a closeout thing, and then we can give you the
I just wanted to illuminate a point, and can you go to the last slide? Because I think this is critically important in terms of the overall success and progress that we have throughout the district. It really sums up the need, the last slide. Can we pull it up?
You want them in the RV, or you want the one
The RV. See, this is what you call building relationships. And it's the foundation for all great work. Absent of that, you can't have that real talk and cut through the chase about what we need to do and grapple with to improve outcome for our most disenfranchised kids. And it's because of these kinds of relationships, this is big, that the math department can do this kind of incredible work. And it's not easy. And it doesn't happen by, the successes we had didn't happen by accident. It happened by a concerted effort and lots of collaboration, grappling with issues, looking at data, determining next steps. And this here is really, really big, and it's resonated with me, and I just wanted to highlight that.
And this photo is actually from a district-funded professional development that we all went to in Asilomar. So that's after all the professional development, that photo.
All right, we will now take public comment on this item.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Aaron Parsons.
Sorry. Okay, and we are gonna, I'm sorry, we're gonna limit it to 1 minute because we just had another hand raise out here.
Okay, so to cut to the chase, I think your focus on the lower achieving end is laudable, but I think there's also a major achievement gap at the upper end as well, in particular with underrepresented minorities and people from disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds on the upper end as well. And I wanted to point out that in the trying to land on the honors track in mathematics, there are two options here for doing it. One is you get placed in it from your 8th grade. There's a huge communication gap right now that needs to be managed somehow in the district in communicating between 8th and 9th grade. And the second is that if you ever want to jump from Math 1 up to Math 2, 3, you have to teach yourself all of Math 2. And that there's no instruction in class right now. The only way students are getting this is either they hire a tutor or they take a private class or they have somebody at their home who can help them. And we have to address this. This isn't in compliance, as I raised at the beginning of this meeting.
Dr. Wells, I think we'll work to schedule a follow-up so we can look into that a little bit more. Maybe. We'll work to schedule a follow-up so that we can better understand what's going on with our placements.
Yeah, well, and that's another issue. Just saying that Ed Services are looking into this, but the good news is that we're making progress, and this is how we make it, by working together and being collaborative. And as I mentioned earlier, it's on my desk now, so we're looking into it.
If I can, there are a couple of other ways to end up in BC Calculus as a senior other than those two you pointed out. But I do hear your concern, and we are working on it. Yeah.
Thank you. We now have a virtual comment coming in.
Hi, this is Cheryl Thies from Dredif again, and I first of all just really want to appreciate the district's attention to this issue. Just a couple of quick comments about the special education side of things, because at my place of employment we take a lot of calls from parents, and so I hear about this issue. First of all, that transition between middle and high school is big, but that transition from elementary to middle school is big too. So I hope that as a district we can really look at this in an integrated way. Just like with reading, we know that kindergarten to 3rd grade children are learning to read. After that, they're reading to learn. So some of the foundational math, we have about 60% of our kids in special ed who have ADHD or a learning disability who can do this, but we need to figure out how to make sure that they come prepared and that we are carefully monitoring them and giving them the support they need so that when they get to middle school, they're successful, and then they get to high school, they're successful. But I really, really appreciate the data. Thank you so much. That's so helpful.
Thank you so much for your call. All right, and with that, we are going to move on to our final staff report of the evening. Thank you both so much for the presentation. All right. Okay, we are now going to move on to our Cornell facilities update.
Madam Chair, our Director of Maintenance and Facilities is not here, so I'm going to be standing in his place, and I'm going to try to give my best impersonation of Mr. Scott Jaffe.
Okay, let's see it.
The Cornell Facility Improvement Plan. This came about because, as we talked about before, was our the attention to Cornell, given the fact that the other two schools are new. Cornell still have some facility issues that we need to identify and address, and provide a timeline to that. Next slide. So Cornell facility improvements, things we've done so far. What has been accomplished? We have capital improvements, major technology improvements that we completed to bring them up to speed, and maintenance and some maintenance and repairs. This summer of 2023 projects, I'm going to talk about that momentarily, and then future projects in the works at Cornell. Next slide. Capital improvement, you can see the picture. Phase 1 of playground renovation started in 2022. We have natural grass, the oval shape. That's what the community wanted. Nature areas, trees and plants and concrete seating. Irrigation system to support living landscape has been put in. Entire resurfacing of the entire play area. And we also have Rainbow Road painting and playground striping. Basketball hoops and tetherballs are new and are used every day and every moment of the hour when provided the opportunity. Next. In other words, the new play yard is a significant improvement and some attention to detail where not only our kids, but our whole community get to benefit from. And this is only phase 1. Remember, phase 2 starts this summer, and we're excited about that. Tech improvements, new mounted projection and Apple TV went on in 2021. New intercom and bell system went on in 2022. New light speed microphone systems in all classrooms, significant improvement. We upgraded to internet so that we can have a dependable internet system as an infrastructure, and we have new Chromebooks, iPad charging station that occurred this year. Next. Maintenance and repairs. Window films installed in select classrooms and hallway. We saw that as a need. Kitchen repairs, we have gas oven converted to electric, gas line removed, torn sunshade replaced, boiler and heating repairs, fence ramp, gutter, restroom leak, and other repairs we have addressed immediately. And then for the summer 2020 projects I mentioned before, phase 2 of the playgrounds, here are some of the things you'll see. The picture, again, worth 1,000 words. We have replacement of play structure, addition of shaded structures, relocation of rolling from AMS to from the annex to Cornell. And then you have the court key resurfacing of coming up, and then a adjacent DG area, and then ball walls. So we're looking forward to that. And then we have exterior painting that's happening this summer. We're going to put brand new paint on that building, first time in a long time. And then we have administration building roof replacement, And then we have new classroom furniture coming. And so they're getting rid of the old antiquated furniture and getting updated, modernized furniture consistent with the two other elementary schools. And we're excited about that. Next. In the works, electrical service upgrade targeted for winter 2023. And then we have HVAC installation not targeted until summer 2024. And so that was a setback for us. And the cause of that was the weather that set back the whole nation in terms of HVACs and other related services. And then we have the hydration station. And we're trying to move that up for the beginning of this year. We're doing all we can because we want the kids to come back to school with new hydration station, permanent water bottles, fillers, drinking fountains. That would be a big win. And so we're doing all we can to have that in the fall when kids return back to school. Next. And guess what? That concludes our presentation for this evening. I tried my best to impersonate Scott Jaffe, and that concludes our report.
Okay. Are there any board comments or questions? Yes, go ahead.
Just that I'm glad to see a lot of the issues that were addressed in the student advocacy report last meeting here in this report. So that was really lovely to see that we're, working on that.
I just want to say, because of that report, we shared it and illuminated some things so that we can address them. And so student voice were incredibly important. I'm not embarrassed to say, but they saw things we didn't see, and they saw them differently, and it caused us to kind of reprioritize. So thank you for that.
Hey, that's great to hear.
So I just want to make sure that there was a letter that was circulated, and I'm assuming everybody received it today. And I just want to comment on something that was said earlier that, okay, we rebuilt, the two schools. We had to retrofit them and make them safe, but there was a decision made by none of us to fully rebuild 2 elementary school sites. And then there was a decision at a board meeting to give $5 million more from state facility grants to the Marin project, which, again, left one of our sites with no money. So I really appreciate that we're paying this attention to it, but I think that what the parents are asking for is a slightly more just comprehensive equity plan. And I think we're making stabs at it here and there, but we still have some bigger, deeper issues. And, it struck me a little bit when we brought up the science room. I was talking to Coach Joel last week on Friday, and he was saying, well, what people don't realize is I have to set up, all the PE teachers, they have to set up each activity, and then they have to break it down, and then recess happens, and then they have to put it back up. And so that's time that our teachers have to take to put out each lesson, take it down, put it out, take it down, and we don't factor that in. So when we create spaces or ways for these things to happen more easily, we allow them that time to teach instead of set up breakdown around schedules on a tight campus. So I just really think, that always is in the back of our minds. How we set these things up really impacts the kids. And I think, it's great that we're going to paint the school. It'll look nice. That'll be great. I hope we're doing interior and exterior. And then just a couple questions. The sunshade, my understanding was we were supposed to get it replaced with a more waterproof structure of some kind. So I'd love, and then it just got the same on top of it. And, I think Cornell could really utilize that better. There's some pictures. Kim, do you mind just sharing them? This is from the math night just tonight, which was super well attended, but attended to the point, and this is the third, fourth event this year at this site where we can barely fit everybody in the space. And so apparently people were spilling out outside and then left because they were trying to do the math activities, but they were outside the NPR and it was cold. And it was also said that there's a lot of appreciation for the volunteers that put on the event and keep trying to put on events. But I also heard that our family movie night, you could barely move, and it was just super tight, and everyone was sitting on the floor, and parents were standing outside in the cold, which is fine. We all make our sacrifices, but I just think the more ways we can look at these spaces, and I just want to make sure we understand that, you know, we chopped the multipurpose room at Cornell to create room 7, where we're now putting the ELOP program. So we took away their stage. We took away space in that room. We dropped the ceiling, so we took away their windows and their natural light. So when we talk about other classrooms, lovely natural light, you know, we've covered that. So just that we're always really being mindful of decisions that are being made and have been made and how we can remedy those. And the last thing I'm going to bring up is, you know, we have students in very small classrooms at Cornell and portables that we heard similar portables were unsuitable for students at AMS and unsuitable for people at AMS, but they're somehow suitable here at this site. So it would be great to see a plan. There's your math night. It would be really great to see a plan for how we're going to keep that site desirable and really showcasing all the wonderful things that happen there. And I think that's kind of all I have on that one. Yeah, it was really full. Yeah. Lots of people get excited about these events. Okay, so if there's any other board comment, I'm sorry I took a little time on that one, or any public comment on this item, now is the time. Okay, yeah, I know. So we have some virtual public comments. Are there any in-person public comments on this item? No? Okay, we're gonna do our virtual ones. These ones we're still behind our time on this one, so this one we can have 2 minutes, and I don't want this to seem like favoritism. All right, we'll do 1 minute. Well, I understand, I'm just trying to fit it, this is why I wanna make this very transparent and clear. When we use our time for our presentations and all our board comment, then we have to cut the public comment because it is the thing that comes last. When we don't use it, then we have the agenda time and we can use it. For this one, I will do 1 minute so that it doesn't seem like I am playing any favorites to this site, but I want to make it very clear that that is how it is stated and that is in our board handbook, and that is how I am running the meetings.
Hi. Oh.
Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Sarah Bly. I'm the co-president of the Cornell PTA. I spoke at a few meetings ago, and I sent the letter with 96 signatures today. And I only have a minute, but I am speaking for at least 96 people. And I want to say thank you for everything that is being done. But I think we all have to agree that we're talking a lot of repairs at this point, and we're not talking about equity. And I really feel that the only way we are going to get equity for this site, the one site that serves school-age children that did not receive $1 of bond money, is to make an equity plan and a concrete equity plan that we put money and time behind. Because otherwise, I think what we're going to have is a bunch of these presentations where we show a few repairs and it's nice, but we're not really making a difference. And I do want to add, math night was ridiculous. Movie night was actually possibly a fire hazard. And there was really only a quarter of our
Thank you
school
so
that
much for
probably
your
attended.
comment on this item. All right. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jessica Welter. I'm also a parent of a Cornell student. Actually, my husband and my son attended the Cornell Math Night and left because it was so crowded this evening. I think that the changes that have been outlined here do sound like they are helpful, particularly HVAC upgrades, but they don't address a lot of the inequities that were talked about before, namely the low square foot per student, the lack of adequate bathrooms and classroom space for the students, and the lower quality of those classrooms compared to the others. And I completely agree with what Sarah just said and many of Bonnie's comments as well about the need for an equity plan for this site. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I would like to actually sacrifice my time to repeat what Ms. Davison just said, which is I would like it in the future. I know this is going to sound horrible, but if we could maybe ask the board members, who I love all of you and your dedication, to maybe limit the time that you're speaking just a little bit, because the community and the parents getting only a minute to voice our concerns, it feels very rushed and it feels very unfair. I love the appreciation that you give to the speakers when they're presenting, and I love the space that you give people when you're talking and thanking them. But I'd also love it if you gave us a little bit more time too. So I don't know, it sounds like there's a 5-minute limit. Could we shorten that to 4 maybe, just to try to give parents a little bit more time to voice their concerns. And that photo that was just shown was mine at the math night tonight. It was amazing what the people there were able to do in that ridiculously cramped space. So thank you for the teachers and volunteers who made such an amazing effort to make that fantastic for our students when we should have more space to be able to do incredible things like that.
Thank you so much for your comment. And sorry, I had one just final question. Can you just clarify which building is the administrative building getting a new roof? Is that?
I have to follow. I want to say the administrative building. I think that's where the office staff is located and the leaks. But let me double check with Mr. Jaffe to get you the correct information.
Principal Reimuller, do you have that? You have to come up to the mic so it gets recorded. Thank you.
I believe that in that presentation, Scott is referring to what we call the annex, which is the building that is all of the libraries on the bottom and then all of the Chinese school and all the other offices and classrooms up there, that section. And I just also want to say that about the whole presentation that you know, in the last few meetings, there's been lots of talk about Cornell facilities, and I've been the principal for just 4 years, but I want to acknowledge that we have worked really, really hard. Every single line item in that project, in that presentation, is hours and hours and hours of work and millions of, lots and lots and lots of money. While we're also working on teaching and all of that. And it's Scott Jaffe has been amazing. He has been attentive and managing multiple crews, multiple projects and timelines. And I'm personally very proud of all the work that has been done at Cornell. It's made a huge difference to teachers. It's made a huge difference to staff and students. And in many, many ways, we do have much equity for, especially in technology. And now our yard is going into phase 2. There's been a lot. And the only reason that HVAC is not going in this summer is because of the electrical upgrades that were needed and the long time frame on ordering all of the equipment. And so this stuff is happening, and it has been a huge effort, and it's, you know, a 5-minute presentation on a lot of work. And I agree, there could be more things done, but you know, it's a pretty great place to teach and to learn, and I just want to point that out.
Much appreciation. I know that there was a public comment that wanted to be made. Please just, can you send it in an email? I really appreciate it. Okay. And I do want to just second what Principal Reimuller said. So much appreciation for all that has been done. There has been a lot done at that site. So with that, we are going to adjourn this agenda item, and we will now move on to future agenda items. So if you have any, Vice President Boyd let us know before she had a flight to catch. So she had I think it was a work trip to head out on, and she was hoping we would be done early, but she apologizes that she couldn't be here. and she really supports this conversation, et cetera. Okay, future agenda item suggestions. Okay, I would just love if we could have an update conversation on like before care, and maybe just, is there a district-wide policy on when students can arrive at school, what time they need to be picked up from school? Like, I've heard from a couple of parents that we've had students too early or too late who are unattended on our campuses, and so I'm just wondering if we could clear that up so we have a clear understanding of what that all looks like, and if there's something that we can do to support parents a little more on either end, that we talk about that. And then I'd love an update on, before we close out this year, our traffic safety plans for pickups and drop-offs at all of our sites for next year, starting in the fall. Anyone else? No? And I think that we should make sure that after a little time in the future, that we have an update on the transition program, how it's going, the next steps that are being taken, and a process for which we will sort of work through the next steps of all of this. Just a reminder, our next board meeting is printed incorrectly on the agenda. Sorry about that. It's Tuesday, June 13th, not the 9th. So we will be meeting again on Tuesday, June 13th. This meeting is adjourned.